समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
आप समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
हिंसा ने इस शानदार इलाके को अपनी चपेट में ले लिया था। लोगों ने शांति का रास्ता चुना है। आपको वादा करता हूं, मैं आपके साथ हूं।
The Prime Minister has spent the last few hours in Manipur. He has been in Churachandpur as well as Imphal. He has met with the Kuki community as well as with the Meitei community. He has met with victims of the violence, including young children and women, some of whom broke down in tears, as you can see on your screen, after they met with the Prime Minister. In a speech urging Manipur to choose peace, urging all organizations to choose peace, the Prime Minister underscored the fact that both he and the government stood with Manipur. He made a reference to the violence that the strife-torn state has suffered, a violence that erupted in 2023. It's been 28 months since then. And today, as the Prime Minister visited Manipur, both the valley and the hill areas, there were some smiles, as you can see on the screen. There were tears, there was hope, there were questions. And these images have been seared in India's heart for the last many months, because people, in the end, irrespective of what their ethnic background is, have suffered. Are the wounds now set to heal? Manipur has been heartbroken. The Prime Minister today, on a visit that Manipur's people have been waiting for a while, spoke again and again about peace being a necessary ingredient for Manipur's progress and Manipur's development. To decode Modi's Mission Manipur, I want to welcome our guests, our experts on the program today. It is a very important day. And I want to first bring up Rami. Rami Niranjan Desai is a Northeast scholar at the India Foundation. Spent a lot of her time looking at this part of India. Thank you, Rami. It's always a pleasure. I also want to welcome military veteran General Dr. Pradeep Nair. In case you're wondering what the doctor in his name is for, he's actually done a PhD on the Northeast. That's how accomplished he is, not just as a soldier, but also as a scholar. He's also been a brigade commander in Manipur and has had a long link with the state. He's, of course, also been most recently the Director General of the Assam Rifles. Also welcoming to the program is W.L. Hangshing. He has been a prominent advocate for the rights of his community, the General Secretary of the KPA. He's worked with the Kuki community especially closely in these last couple of years, 28 months to be precise. And also joining me is Colonel Sapam. He is, of course, also an army veteran. And I don't know how many of you will remember that at the height of the strife, Colonel Sapam was so moved that we remember he broke down in tears in one moment, and he really wanted the Prime Minister. He believed that the Prime Minister could bring the healing touch. That visit has happened today. It's been a long time since we've seen Manipur go through several phases, sometimes of actual active strife, sometimes of a tense, invisible line dividing two parts of the state. And here we stand today. The Prime Minister is talking of a new dawn. I'll play out that statement in just a moment. I want first reactions. I'll start with you, Mr. Hangshing, and then come to Colonel Sapam, then come to General Nair and Rami. Hangshing, sir, first comments.
Comments on
Mr. Modi's visit to
Mr.
Prime
Modi's
Minister?
visit. Yeah,
Yes.
it was long awaited, and it's been too long that he has taken to come. It has been more like a whirlwind election campaign tour. It promised a lot, but delivered literally nothing. It has changed. It has not changed anything. Well, what can I say? There's nothing much to say. And he's just gone to Churachandpur for 10 minutes, and he's not gone to Kampopi, where Kampopi is the district which faced most of the violence. And you see, it surrounds Manipur on three sides: the north, the east, and the west. Only in the south is Churachandpur, and he didn't go there. Most of the conflict victims are there. The center of the political flavor is there also.
But what would you have wanted him to do instead? The point is, he's the Prime Minister. He will try and also be equitable in the attention he's paying to different impacted areas, right? What would you have wanted him to say or do instead, specifically, Mr. Hangshik?
See, we expected him to at least connect with the people, talk to people, get the feelings, get the feeling of the ground situation, which I think he has missed out in the last 2.5 years and more. So something was lacking. The connection was lacking. I think he just came and went. So what we expected was he would understand the situation, realize the reality of the situation, and then, we hope for some kind of a separate administration, so that we can look after ourselves. Our areas have been without administration for the last 2.5 years. You can look at it. There are no roads. We make a road and there's a resistance to it. We make bridges, and it comes under the fire.
Okay, so I can tell you that it's quite clear to me as a reporter that a separate administration is not something that the government would have given. The Prime Minister's visit would not have been about that. But we are seeing these images on our screen. There's a young girl breaking down in tears. There's another woman crying. He has met with internally displaced victims in both parts of Manipur. Colonel Sapam, I know you're ethnically from, in a sense, the other side, as so to speak, but we're all Indians here. Do you feel as without hope as Mr. Hangshing, or do you feel a little more optimistic after PM's visit?
Good evening, General Nair sir, Hangshing sir, and the Ramiji, and Barkha ji. Good evening.
Good evening.
I have different perception. I was the military man who came out on TV with tears in my eyes. And my eyes were not in tears for the Meitei community. My eyes were in tears for all the communities of Manipur who are all staying over there. And I commanded the troops from this region. I have many Kuki boys, Naga boys, and Meitei boys. And I understand fully all their aspirations, what they want, and all those things. And on 3rd May, when these things happened and when there was no vision, and I was also thickly thickly involved when I was posted during the Naga Kuki clash, and I could understand the clash, the kind of clash which took place. So that was the thing in the beginning, and when I started analyzing what is happening around in my Manipur, then I realized various things very deeply. When I analyze it, then it's a very deep issue. Basically, it cannot go just like that, and it is a very sad thing. And today, the prime minister of the largest democracy of this of largest democracy, India is the largest democracy in the world. The prime minister of that country came to Manipur, maybe little late, but then why he is late, that also I have some understanding why he is late. But he came today and he spoke very powerful and positive words for the people of Manipur, and very encouraging, I would say. And henceforth, I have a strong belief that he will be monitoring it. I'm not saying that he had not monitored before. Right from the beginning, from the word go, from 3rd May, he would have monitored. But then, lot of understanding. He understands much, much more than me. The situation, what had happened in Manipur on 3rd May and thereafter, and beyond geopolitical angle and anthropology.
So
Let's
Colonel
talk about geopolitics
Yeah,
and anthropology. These two are the things which are very important. He
we'll come
understood
to
very well.
We'll come to that a little later in the program, but I want to ask you, Colonel Sapam, you say that yes, Prime Minister could have come earlier, but possibly you think that some ground was being prepared, perhaps in the back channel, perhaps between both communities to enable this visit. And you feel that when you cried at the height of the strife, you cried for all people, not just for the Meitei community that you belong to. So we have two very different perspectives. Now let me bring in General Nair, former DG of Assam Rifles, with a doctorate in this part of India, served also as a young officer, a brigade commander, among other roles. You have been most recently in your life DG Assam Rifles. You've seen the state at the height of its strife. You've seen it at the height of its polarization. You've seen it at the height of a situation where somebody who lives in Kangpokpi or Churachandpur can't go to Imphal and vice versa. If you're from one community, you can't go to the other region and vice versa. What do you make, sir, of the Prime Minister's visit and his words?
Let me begin by thanking you, Barkha, for having me over, along with such an erudite, my erudite co-panelists were here. Grateful to be on your show. Like you said, I saw the worst days. I was there for the initial 15 months, and most of the violence that emitted was while I was there. Having got a sense of what happened then, and when I tried to put in context the Prime Minister's visit, it was something which was very, very eagerly awaited by both the communities. And if I have to just put it plainly, it's a great thing that has happened. It's a great start. Of course, there will be criticism, of course, on two counts as to why did he come so late. On that, I feel I should tell your viewers that while he may not have come here, he was quite updated on a day-to-day thing. I mean, every day he would know what's happening here. And he
were you also asked as DG Assam Rifles for sit reps?
Yeah, of course.
that were going to the PMO?
Yes, I would report to the Home Secretary, who's now the governor there, Honorable Governor, and the Home Minister. And then I'm sure through them, and of course the Governor of Manipur, and through them, the reports would go right up to the Prime Minister. So he possibly was waiting for the embers to die down. It was all euphoria, a lot of false reportage, social media. Those had huge psychological impacts, and that led to cycles and cycles of violence. You were witness to that. You run a lot of coverage there. So there was a necessity for the embers to cool down and things to normalize. And after the governor's president's rule, and after the governors come here, a seasoned hat who handled this firsthand as a Home Secretary, there's a huge difference that has happened. So I think it was necessary for that stage to come, a platform to be established before the Prime Minister came, and we shouldn't get into the details of why so late and why only so few hours. While he was updated on what is happening today, when he's come, and some of the visuals that you saw, you showed us, bear testimony to the fact now he's also seen it on ground. He's the prime minister of the country. He's been in
I
chair for
should I should say, sorry to interrupt you, that the Prime Minister's visit was hit by heavy rain.
Yes,
And
he
he traveled an hour and a half by road. There is
Yes.
symbolism in that, because this road has been, as all of you know, this road has been, in many ways, the highway has been at the heart of the battle, the tensions, and there is a symbolism in this, that the Prime Minister has come by road, driving through the rain. Go ahead, General Nair, complete your point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's saying. While he had knowledge of what was happening, but today when he's seen it firsthand, I'm sure he's going to take all this back with him. You would see greater things happening in times to come. He's already announced some packages like 3,500 crores for, I think, road connectivity. One of the points which one of my panelists just raised, the road standards are poor. And the second, of course, is something related to IT, some 500 crores worth. And of one fact, I'm very sure that not only are these announcements just made, but these will be followed up very regularly. The Prime Minister himself will be observing them. And this I speak out of experience, having witnessed many of the central ministers who would come to the Northeast on a weekly basis and take back feedback of all developmental activities happening across the Northeast. And with this visit, I'm sure he's going to pay even greater care for this. And like I said, it's baby steps it may look like, but a very, very important, a game changer, if I can call it.
Okay, let me bring in Rami now. There's a lot to unpack, but let's get opening comments. Rami, Mr. Hangsheng is not, he's upset. He feels the visit should have come earlier. He feels PM should have spent more time. But both Colonel Sapam and, of course, General Nair, who has literally served at the peak of the conflict in Manipur, and has some, probably more than any of us, knowledge of how the Prime Minister's office and the centre was monitoring the situation. He's saying, listen, the embers had to die down before the Prime Minister could visit. What do you say? What for you has been the most important takeaway from this visit?
Barkha, good evening. I have to say, Barkha, that this has been a very momentous day, because we've had the Prime Minister visit Manipur after, it has been a point of constant debate that he hasn't come. He's, finally arrived in Manipur, and he's arrived in such a grand way. Look at the reception that he's gone. You just mentioned that, there was an unscheduled trip. We heard that, they couldn't travel by helicopter because it was raining, so he had to take road transportation, 1.5 hours he drove. But look at the reception that he got on the roads. Now, that surely has to be impromptu turnout of people, because nobody knew that he was going to take the road to go to Churachandpur. Also, the fact that the state machinery, worked so well to put this plan together, I think says a lot for how the state is functioning today. I really do think that, not getting into these nitty-gritties, why didn't he come before, why has he come now, doesn't really make any sense, because I think it's very clear to anybody who observes governments, how they work, that this Prime Minister is perhaps the only Prime Minister who's visited Manipur 8 times in the tenures that he's had. That's the most that any Prime Minister has visited Manipur, I believe. So it's always been, the state has been very central to his consciousness of where the Northeast should be, how important the state is, and how important peace and stability in the state is. And that is what reflected in the conversations that happened. You look at what he said in Churachandpur, not just him, preceding him, what the governor said, keeping in mind the kind of grievances that the hill areas had in terms of development, which was always a top grievance that they had, that it wasn't developed enough, that healthcare was lacking, education was lacking. It's all been addressed with the foundation stones that have been laid, the projects and the money that has been earmarked. I think the messaging of the governor talking about illegal immigration, that also sends a very important message out. In Imphal, of course, in the historic Kangla fort, he spoke about the martyr of Operation Sindoor. He spoke about the importance of culture and history of Manipur to the rest of the country and how it resonates with us. I think these are all really important, they're very important sentiments to put forth, coming from a Prime Minister who's very well liked across the world, and of course across the country. But also his visit to the IDPs, Barkha, because that has been central to everybody's minds and hearts, And I think that is a show of encouragement, and that tells us that he has been keeping an eye on every grievance that has been an outcome of this disastrous conflict that we have seen. The Prime Minister single-handedly is not going to go and solve the nitty-gritties. Finally, that is for the communities to do. But I think this visit has come as a ray of hope at the right time, when the state machinery is not overwhelmed with problems in the state. They brought the state to some level of stability, and therefore this is a good time, a sensible time, and I see it as a great sign.
And I want to agree with you on one thing. I think, not that I disagree with the other things, but I especially agree with you on one thing. I think the meeting between the Prime Minister and the internally displaced people in both areas of the state is actually for the people going to be the most important, right? For them to be able to meet the Prime Minister, for a little girl, for an older woman to cry with the Prime Minister. I think that will be the measure. Of course, there were children like this who were smiling, but it's really the images of those tears that women shared with the Prime Minister, that children shared with the Prime Minister, that will be the measure in a way of how people are feeling. How Colonel Sapam, when he cried 2 years ago, he looked at Modi as the patriarch. Yes, there can be a debate. Why didn't he come earlier? General Nair has given some reasons for that. Mr. Hangshing, I don't know if you're a little more convinced after hearing everybody else, but let me do this. Let me play out an excerpt from what the Prime Minister said when he spoke about the violence that has engulfed the state, but also why he thinks Manipur must choose peace. He also said the Prime Minister and the government stands with Manipur. Take a look.
मणिपुर की ये धरती, ये क्षेत्र आशा और उम्मीद की भूमि है, लेकिन दुर्भाग्य से हिंसा ने इस शानदार इलाके को अपनी चपेट में ले लिया था। थोड़ी देर पहले मैं उन प्रभावित लोगों से मिला हूं जो कैंप्स में रह रहे हैं। उनसे बातचीत के बाद मैं कह सकता हूं कि उम्मीद और विश्वास की नई सुबह मणिपुर में दस्तक दे रही है। साथियों, किसी भी स्थान पर विकास के लिए शांति की स्थापना बहुत जरूरी है। बीते 11 वर्षों में नॉर्थ ईस्ट में दशकों से चल रहे अनेक विवाद, अनेक संघर्ष समाप्त हुए हैं। लोगों ने शांति का रास्ता चुना है, विकास को प्राथमिकता दी है। मुझे संतोष है कि हाल ही में हिल्स और वैली में अलग अलग ग्रुप्स के साथ समझौतों के लिए बातचीत की शुरुआत हुई है। ये भारत सरकार के उन प्रयासों का हिस्सा है जिसमें संवाद, सम्मान और आपसी समझ को महत्व देते हुए शांति की स्थापना के लिए काम किया जा रहा है। मैं सभी संगठनों से अपील करूंगा कि शांति के रास्ते पर आगे बढ़कर अपने सपनों को पूरा करें, अपने बच्चों के भविष्य को सुनिश्चित करें। और मैं आज आपको वादा करता हूं, मैं आपके साथ हूं।
General Nair, I want to bring you in, because you have first-hand dealt with the strife. I think this is the first top-level acknowledgement of the fact that there is now an intra-state dialogue. Prime Minister refers to a Hill and Valley dialogue process that has begun. He also says he personally stands with Manipur. He's urging peace. I know Mr. Hangshing is feeling a little cynical. There may be leaders in both communities who wanted more, who expected more. But if you had to identify where you think Manipur goes from here, What is the path ahead? How do we get out of this sort of invisible separation, that has kept the Kukis or in geographically confined to one area of the state and the Meiteis geographically confined to another area as one? And how do we avoid one of the most dangerous things that happened in the strife is that security personnel were drawn into the polarization. They were being dragged into the polarization, whether it was the Assam Rifles, the Manipur police, You witnessed this firsthand. That's, for a man or woman in uniform, that's very unnerving. So I want your thoughts on that.
Okay, thank you for those questions. For the first one, let me say, the Prime Minister made a reference of both the communities meeting. I think while I was there, those 15 months, there was no way they even wanted to meet. In fact, there was a back channel thing which Assam Rifle and Indian Army tried in the month of June 10th, 15 thereabouts last in 2023, and we got around with most of the civil society organizations of both the groups, and they were ready to meet on the same table. And we had actually chosen a neutral place, Guwahati. But on the day that we were to meet, just 2 days before that, unfortunately, that video went viral of those two women being paraded, and then hell broke loose. And after that, there was no go back. So thereafter, the situation only kept deteriorating. And now, seen contextually, what is different now is in the month of April, 4th of April, if I remember correct, the people from both the communities were called to Delhi at the Home Ministry, and the Home Ministry, I think, met up with both the groups separately. But there was a time when both would refuse to be at a common place at the same time. So this is one fundamental change that has happened. They came, so there was a back channel thing that was happening, and therefore certain things that the center listed out for them, which included, there will be going ahead, there will be reconsideration of the land laws, the political situation there, and what is the way forward to get both the communities to talk. All of that has been done. So it's been a huge work in progress from April to now. And I'm very sure that there would be some other discussions also that are happening. In fact, sometimes in the month of August, I heard there was going to be some meeting between both the communities being organized by the governor behind closed doors.
So to that extent, you see a clear indication of progress in the Prime Minister's assertion that
Yes.
a dialogue has begun.
Yes, it has begun, and I see that as a change that will make all the difference. Coming to the
Hold that thought. I'll come back to what's happening with the security agencies. I just want reactions to what you've said. Sorry, Mr. Hangshing, I want to bring you in and then to the others, because there is a larger debate on what happens to the Assam Rifles, to the Manipur police. Mr. Hangshing, you said separate administration. I think, I could be wrong, but I don't think that's going to happen. Now, given that a separate administration is not going to happen, how does the peace process go ahead?
I don't see it going ahead without a clear-cut separate administration, because since the May 3rd, what happened on May 3rd, it was not a civil conflict. It was a state government pogrom against a selected community that went on and on and on. It was at that time that Delhi should have intervened.
Haven't both communities suffered, sir? Haven't people?
They have suffered.
Haven't people in both communities suffered?
They have suffered, both communities, but the pogrom was state sponsored. Not only state sponsored, it was state led. What I'm saying is, at that point in time, the center should have intervened and imposed the president's rule within 3-4 days. They didn't understand it. They didn't realize it.
Okay.
This has been building up for the last 5 years. It has been building up.
May I ask you a question? Even if you disagree, even if you feel PM should have come much earlier, even if you feel Biren Singh's government didn't do a good... let me ask a question. Even if you feel all of this, here we are today. Tell me, where do we go from here? I'm saying, if I ask a Meitei representative, they will say a very different thing, just the exact opposite from their lens. We have to move ahead. How do we move ahead, sir?
So let me bring you back.
Because I will say, whether it's Jiribam or whether it's that terrible video, I have personally seen great suffering in both communities. I don't want to take away from the suffering in either community. That's what I want to say. Now tell me, how do we go ahead?
See this. I'll go back to what you said in the beginnings, that this I'll rephrase it. The problem as I see it, when I see separate administration, is not a demand that we have been raising. This demand has come only after 10 days after the pogrom. The last 5 years, where is the demand? Even the Sue discussions, the preamble says within the integrity of Manipur. Where was the separate administration? The separate administration is a situation that has been caused, that has been thrust into the situation by a government that has been antagonistic to a particular community. Now that we have totally lost faith in the government of Imphal, which is not a government of Imphal, it is a government of the Meiteis, which they have proven again and again.
But today,
how do you want to us to subjugate ourselves to that situation again?
Mr. Hangshing, there is no Biren Singh government today. There is president's rule.
Why did you take 2.5 years to get him out? You should have.
Okay. So looking at your responses, now, 1 minute. You want to add there? Because you're dwelling on the past. You're dwelling on the past. I want you to tell me about the future. Whatever
the present. And you cannot understand the present without going into the past.
All right.
What I'm saying is, when you say that, when I said the PM should come here, I didn't mean physically. At least he should have applied his mind, understood the situation, and taken decision then. Now things were allowed to drift to a situation where things have broken down to a point of no return. Now, how do you bring back? How do you, even if I was a PM, how do you bring back these two communities together?
Okay, I think the last
they will. If you bring them together, they will kill each other till the end of eternity. I'm telling you this. The trust is broken.
Let me tell you this, that you and Colonel Sapam are not from the same community. You're sitting here able to politely have a dialogue. Yes, you may not be physically in the same space. You have not just not killed each other. You have not even said one rude word personally to each other. So it is possible. It is possible, and it is best represented in our military, where people of Manipur from both communities serve with great honor and valor and courage. And the Prime Minister has made a reference to this today. I will not lose hope as an Indian. I feel the pain of both communities. I really do. I have reported on great tragedy in both the Kuki and Meitei community, and it is the tears of the people we have met over the last few months. Honestly, to me, whether they're Meitei or Kuki, what I care about is the human suffering, right? So that is, I think, where our attention has to be on healing. Colonel Sapam, do you agree that Mr. Hangshing has a point that in the last comment that he made, that it is going to be an uphill struggle because the trust is broken down? He says if you put both groups in the same room, they'll kill each other.
Well, today is on this auspicious day where the Prime Minister of the country is here. I do not want to get into any conflict, basically. I would like to respect his visit over here. The commitment he has shown to the people. The weather was bad. He could have said, since the weather is bad, and let's call it a day. He could have said this. But the commitment was that he had to drive down more than 1 hour of journey on the way, all the way to Churachandpur, come back, conduct a rally there, meet the IDPs, come down here, again, then meet the IDPs, and had a rally. So, so much of energy and commitment he has given to the state, that I want to respect, and I do not want to, get any negative impact on this positive, beginning.
Next? Okay, but what next? What now? Colonel Sapam, what now? Then Rami, and we'll give the last word to General Nair. What now?
What now is very simple. We must all try for the peaceful coexistence over here, and we must work for it. We are all Indians. We are all Manipuris. All those say the base year for the for us to be Indian citizen, the Indian government has said 1951, but the government of Manipur said 1961. Everyone is everyone's a brother. Thereafter, who comes after that? They are all foreigners. Okay. On that basis, we must work and we must work together as far as. But then, if Hang Sing sir wants to, he feels that we should have another debate. I don't mind. I can come down and we can talk all the things that time. But on this auspicious day today, on this particular day today, I feel that debating on those lines, I feel it is not so healthy. That is what I want to respect the Prime Minister who has come over here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Colonel Sapam. Before I give General Nair the last word, Rami, let's look at, okay, what next? Whether you're like Mr. Hang Sing, who believes that the Prime Minister should have come much earlier, Biren Singh, the government should have gone much earlier, the President's rule should have been imposed much earlier, that, now trust is broken down irretrievably. He believes, Colonel Sapam thinks otherwise. He says, we're all Manipuri, we're all Indian. We need specifics of what next. To start with, there has to be a way in which people of Imphal can go to Churachandpur and the people of Churachandpur can come to Imphal. We all know that we saw a situation where families were not even able to go and retrieve the bodies of their loved ones because the divide was so entrenched at that time, things were so tense. Where do we go from here? Sorry, could you unmute yourself? Rami, I can't hear you. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Barkha, let me put this in a little bit of perspective from my point of view, because I'm not from Manipur. Now, the fact remains that we cannot erase what has happened in the past. And conflicts have not just happened in Manipur this time. They've happened before. They've gone on for a longer time. They've, conflicts have happened across the world. Fortunately, human resilience is something that, you can count on and you can move ahead with that. But here is the problem. When I go to restaurants in Delhi, I've had, great staff come up to me and say, ma'am, I'm a Kuki and I work alongside a Meitei here. I've gone to places and I've had Meiteis come and say, ma'am, I'm still having a drink with, my best friend who's a Kuki. However, the problem lies, Barkha, is that they cannot come out and say it in the open because of a few vested leadership that have vested interests. This conflict, to keep it on or to keep these divisions on, seems to be fruitful for them and only them, not for the larger community. However, for the, with the kind of fear that has been instilled by these groups, and it might be both sides, within these communities, reasonable, rational voices are not being able to get space in the dialogue. Now, dialogue may be happening in the background, but I think the environment should be positive enough, wherein we can't go around saying that, no, there can't be a way forward. Should be, okay, let's at least dialogue and see what we can do. Now, what would that include? That would definitely, without a doubt, the first step would have to be to alleviate human suffering, which is use the IDPs as a symbol of peace and bring them back home. Because I think there can't be a worse situation for a family to be in, not being able to go back to their house. So I think that would really resonate with people of both the communities, and both the communities should take responsibility to provide them protection on the basis of the honor that they keep talking about. I think that would be a good first step. And then, of course, I think you have to scale back on your demands. You're not going to get separate administration. You may not get scheduled tribe status. Both communities will have to scale that back for better times to come.
Yeah, I think that is an excellent thought there about the internally displaced people living still after all these months in relief camps, being able to go home. I also find, before I give General Nair the last word, this important point that relationships between Kukis and Meiteis were never like this. And outside of Manipur, they not just are people still friends, sometimes horrible tragedies remind you how irrelevant these differences are. I'm thinking about the Air India 171 crash where two members of the cabin crew were killed, and one was from one community and the other lady was from another community. And it, and I remember seeing those images and thinking that, in the end, moments of joy, moments of tragedy, these differences have zero meaning. Now, General Nair, I didn't give you a chance to complete your point on the security agencies, how they were pulled into the polarization, and where you think we go from here. Last word to you, sir.
Yeah, before I come to that, can I take off from the last thing that you just
please.
I must give out this anecdote. I've written about this in one of the newspapers.
And
in
those are
Asian.
the two cabin crew members of Air India 171 on your screen.
Yeah,
Yes.
no. I had an experience. A week later, 6 days later, I was traveling again on a flight to London, Heathrow, Air India 787, and at the entrance, we had there's these three girls. I just read their names. I could make out one is a Naga, Kuki, and one is a Meitei. So I said, "Are you three from Manipur?" Of course, they said, "Yes." How do you know? And then, of course, I told them who I am, and it was a long 10-hour flight, during which time I went and interacted with them behind, and they were all having a drink together, and exactly like what Rami said, exactly the same. They're very happy, and they say, "We are very happy being here. In fact, that Kuki girl and the Meitei girl are roommates in Delhi." They're roommates in Delhi, but they say we don't want to disclose this to our community. So deep down, they know they are one. And obviously these girls would be Gen Z, and you know what Gen Z can do in Nepal, what they just did. So they're, I just want to bring out the most important thing, apart from all, some of which Rami has already stated, I think, is the psychological healing that's required. Most of them, the people who got affected, are suffering from PTSD, trauma, sleepless. And it actually even, we noticed this amongst, while I was there, I noticed this even amongst our troops from Manipur when they came back from leave. When they heard stories, while they were in their battalions, in their companies, things were fine. They were doing their duty. But when they went on leave and came back, they came back quite traumatized. And it is to the credit of the officers of Assam Rifles and in they could control them. And nothing bad has happened in any of the security forces. Now, coming to the second part of the question, which was as to how was it getting defamed, if I may say that.
I didn't use that word. I didn't
but
use
that's
that
what
word.
the people at large kept criticizing.
It happens in conflict zones. I've seen this in J&K. I've seen this in Northeast.
When you do your duty, you will get you will get all those that bad press. And what was adding to this was false reportage, social media, spinning of stories, video shots of to cover only a certain part of what we were doing. Essentially, what we were trying to do is we were preventing both the communities from running berserk, getting into each other's places where they lived, and resorting to violence. So when we did that to people who came like Rambos with weapons, it hurt their ego. Why are we being stopped? We are doing what we think is right. And what happens is when videos of these get circulated, it further fuels the anger. And that is how, so how does it come out? It comes out in the form of throwing stones at us, calling names, women blockading us. In fact, there was an incident where one of the women who was blockading us, our logistic column, going to one of our posts, was the wife of a Assam Rifle soldier. And when we asked her, one of her soldiers asked, "Aren't you the wife of so-and-so Havaldar who's deployed just across 5 kilometers away?" She said, "Yes." He said, "Don't you realize if you stop us, this won't reach him?" She says, "I'm just doing my duty. I've been told, so I'm doing these 6 hours of duty I have to do." So that's how it is.
Yeah. Well, all I can say is, Mr. Hangshing, it's never too late to hope. That is the bottom line. It is never too late to hope, and it is never too late to talk. Maybe nothing comes of it. Maybe you need hundreds of rounds of talks before there's an agreement. But we have to look ahead. We can't keep looking back. I don't say the past is irrelevant. The past defines the present and the future. But we have to look ahead. There has been too much suffering in Manipur, too much trauma. And I just, my heart goes out to the people of Manipur. All the ifs and buts aside, I do very much hope that Manipur's people can find some roots of, some way of healing or the beginning of healing. I know healing will take time. I will just say thank you there to Rami, to Colonel Sapam, to Mr. Hangshing, and to General Nair. Thank you. And to the people of Manipur, our utmost hope that things will only get better. Thank you. Take care. See you soon.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Vote Her Story and support independent, robust journalism.